Have you ever wondered when the houseplant craze first started, or what stories your plants could tell you if they could speak? Turns out the houseplant hobby has roots stretching back thousands of years. Today, houseplants are widely recognized for their mental health benefits and are advertised as air purifiers for your home, which needs a whole video in itself. Houseplants are not just a modern trend, but one that stretches across different cultures and centuries. In today's video, we will be discussing ancient Egypt, China, Rome, Victorian England, and how each of these cultures contributed to the now popular houseplant hobby. If you're new here, hi, my name is Leah, I love plants, and I've researched and compiled the fascinating history of houseplants and how they evolved into the popular hobby we have today. Whether it's for their fragrance, style, culinary use, or health benefits, people have been bringing plants into their homes for thousands of years. The history of the houseplant is wicked, from female pioneers growing gardens upside down to sailors risking their lives to bring citrus trees back across the oceans. We give a knowing nod to the Victorians trying to combat pollution with the humble fern, and then have our minds blown as a houseplant reference book becomes the second biggest seller after the Bible. But throughout all this, one thing holds true. Over thousands of years, we've all been plant obsessed. While it's hard to pinpoint exactly which culture did it first, Egyptians were among the first to bring outdoor plants indoors roughly 5,000 years ago. At least that's the earliest record we have. The Egyptians would use plants for aesthetic purposes, medicinal purposes, and even in tombs to honor the dead. Fun fact, they used potted plants in temples and homes to create a lush atmosphere. Potted plants. Potted plants. They were potting plants. These were typically potted in terracotta, which is cool because we still use terracotta today. So maybe next time you're planting something into a terracotta pot, say, hey Egyptians, thanks for that. According to this article written by Shahinda Abdallah, for the Egyptians, a garden was a mystical creation, a sort of offering to the gods. Gardens were named just like buildings were named. Each plant grown in these gardens was intentional and held a particular symbolic meaning. She goes on to say, gardens weren't just limited to religious rituals, they were associated with love and eroticism and were often places where lovers met and where music, dancing, and drinking took place. I too like to party surrounded by plants. And can you imagine how lush and magical a garden must have felt to the Egyptians, surrounded by plants that had all these spiritual meanings to them, honoring the dead? Like, just picture yourself being an Egyptian walking into one of their sacred gardens. Can you imagine how cool that would feel? I think it would feel pretty cool. We will now take a look at ancient China, where the art of bonsai brought miniature landscape indoors, blending nature with philosophy. The ancient Chinese tradition of bonsai brought miniature landscapes indoors as a form of art and meditation. Plants represented wealth and prosperity in their culture, and the practice wasn't just about connecting to nature, it was deeply rooted in philosophy and balance. For example, the bonsai tree. The art of bonsai is not merely aesthetic, it embodies the principles of harmony and balance central to Chinese culture. Chinese garden designers followed a fairly traditional approach in the choice of plant materials. They selected and cultivated long-standing favorites that carried symbolic meaning in poetry and literature, like the pine, cypress, plum, and bamboo, as well as flowering plants like the peony, orchid, and chrysanthemum. Another significant plant you may recognize that was popular from this time period is the money tree, said to symbolize good fortune. My friend gifted me a money tree, and less than a year later, my boyfriend got a promotion, a pretty major one too, so just throwing that out there. There may be some truth to them meaning good fortune. I don't know. It's possible. Next, we'll explore the Roman Empire, where houseplants were not just decorative, but integral to daily life and culture. The Romans took their love of plants indoors, especially in their luxurious villas. They particularly liked marble, which contributed to the rising interest in different colored and textured pots. And in large pots, they grew everything from exotic herbs to trees. 3 trees in particular seemed to appear a lot throughout my research of this time period: the fig, olive, and vine trees. The fig tree was a staple food, said to represent fertility and abundance. The olive tree, essential to the Roman diet, provided olive oil. It also symbolized peace and victory. And the vine tree was crucial for winemaking and was associated with hospitality and celebration. These trees were so valuable that if one died, they would replace it immediately, and it was also thought to symbolize a sign of future misfortune. They took these plants seriously. They were not messing around, and they were well taken care of. And the Roman Empire's reach allowed them to cultivate plants from different areas of the world. And these plants also served practical purposes. Herbs were used for medicinal and cooking purposes, as they are today. And finally, we'll fast forward to Victorian England, a time when indoor plants became a status symbol, transforming homes across the nation. So fast forward to the 19th century when Victorian England made indoor plants a widespread trend. The Industrial Revolution allowed middle-class families to bring outdoor plants inside, making them a symbol of wealth and status. Some popular houseplants from this time that you may recognize are succulents, dracaenas, ferns, snake plants, rubber plants, and more. Plants were an important part of Victorian culture and Victorian home decor. They were often grown in Wardian cases, which is an earlier version of a terrarium. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't realize a terrarium was such an old concept as well, but it makes sense when you think about it, you know. From sacred rituals to stylish decor, our love for houseplants indoors reminding us that we're all part of this timeless botanical journey. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know, did you know the houseplant hobby was as deeply rooted in our history as it is? Or are you already aware? Am I dumb for making this video? Let me know. Leave a comment. I want to hear from you. If you like this video, you're going to love the last video I did where we took a deep dive into plants that were trending in the 80s. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.